It's on. Oh. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Nancy Porter, and I'm a patroness member of the Pasadena Alumni Chapter of SAI. I'm a former bass player, now a bell player. I'll be guiding us through the second half of our concert that celebrates the music of women composers. Our next piece is a piano solo by Jessica Damari, which was selected from our request for scores. Jessica is a composer of film, television, and concert music who's passionate about blending orchestral and electronic sounds. She is also a film scoring student at Juilliard. Her piano piece, called Potential Energy, deals with the highs and lows of developing feelings for another person. At first, you're optimistic, brimming with hope about what could be. The potential is endless. But over time, your brain begins to challenge that notion back and forth, leading to the ultimate trials of despair. Potential Energy tackles what everyone facing the common dilemma of unrequited love has ever asked. Do I risk it all by telling them? Or do I learn to move on and just let go? So here is Potential Energy, performed by Pasadena Alumni Chapter member Kristen Herlinger. Our next selection is written by a well-known woman in music. Nadia Boulanger was a French composer, a conductor, and a teacher who taught and influenced many of the leading composers and musicians of the 20th century. Among her pupils were American composers Aaron Copland and even Philip Glass. But aside from her teaching, she was also a talented composer. She wrote her 3 pieces for organ at the age of 24. What were you doing when you were 24? I certainly couldn't do anything like that. Anyway, at the age of 24 in the year 1911. Now, please welcome Fern Fay back to perform the prelude from 3 pieces for organ. We have one more piano solo for you from our request for scores. This one is written by Esin Aydıngoz, a Turkish composer based in Los Angeles, right here. She has composed music for a wide array of projects, including films, TV series, video games, and even musicals. And she is the secretary for the Alliance for Women Film Composers. Her piano solo, Time Over Love, was written in memory of her friend's father, who passed away due to complications from COVID-19. In her program notes, she says, "How sad it is that even the greatest love can't defeat time, but how poetic it is that the memory of that love stays with us forever." So here now is Bonnie Janowski to perform Time Over Love. Looks like we have a little time now while some things are moved around for the next number. So let's think about music for a moment, which I imagine is something few of us may not do much of. Music is something that's just there. It's part of our lives. It's a nice part of our lives. Okay, but let's be a little more specific. What exactly is music? Well, we can say that music is the universal language that can be enjoyed by all people regardless of their personal means of oral or written communication. That's a good start, but let's get even more specific. Music can be described as an orderly progression of sounds that are blended together in patterns that are pleasing to the ear. But what's pleasing to you or you may not be pleasing to me. So that's why we've ended up with so many different kinds of music, from Beethoven to the Beatles and from Elgar to Elton John, for example. We are probably exposed to music as children and may even have experienced how it's performed. Some of us may have said, "Hey, I like hearing that. It makes me feel good." I can sing along with that, or I could dance to that. Some of us may have said, wow, that's cool. I'd like to be able to do that. So after we learn the mechanics of how to get an instrument to make a sound, we have to learn how to make musical sounds on that instrument. But in order to do that, we first have to learn the written language of music. That system of lines, dots, and symbols that visually tell the players what musical sounds to make on their instruments. But after doing that, some of us will even go even further, saying, I want to be able to create that. I want to be able to create those musical sound patterns so that others can reproduce my original musical ideas. So those people learn the musical language building blocks of whatever type of music they wanted to create and became composers of musical scores. Which brings us to being here today. Seeing and listening to music as it is performed is a very different experience than hearing it on the radio or even on our own sound systems. Live music, as it's called. An experience that was lost to us for over a year due to this COVID pandemic. The term starving musicians took on a whole new meaning. Musicians were starving to perform. There was no audience to hear the music they could make. So SAI is finally back, eager and happy to share with you this wonderful experience of music created by female composers and played by our own members for you to enjoy live. So as we near the end of our program, we want to thank you for attending our concert today. It's so wonderful to be able to hear music live again. We want to thank Edie Marshall again for speaking to us about the philanthropy and encourage you to make a donation to if you can and haven't already. We also want to thank Tim Black and this First Presbyterian Church of Burbank for being such great hosts. After our program is finished, we hope you'll enjoy a small reception outside where you'll have a chance to talk to the performers. For those watching from home, we'll just have to see you next time. But thank you for tuning in today. We hope you learned some new names and some new music by women composers. We have 2 more selections for you. Our next group is a string quartet featuring guest musicians who play in various groups in the Los Angeles area. They will be performing a piece by German composer Emily Mayer, a prolific composer who wrote 8 symphonies and at least 15 concert overtures, plus numerous chamber works and lieder. Her compositional style was initially influenced by the Vienna classic style, while her later works were more romantic. Estimated to have been written in the 1840s, Emily's String Quartet in G minor is the only one of her 7 works for string quartet that was published during her lifetime. Today, we will hear the last 2 movements. what a glorious finish to the formal part of our program. It has truly been a pleasure having you with us today, either in person or at home on your whatever device you're using. But we want to close our program with one final song that is close to our hearts, the Sigma Alpha Iota Chorale, a song that every member knows by heart when she joins our organization, written by Margaret Blackburn. And finally, as you walk out, we hope you'll enjoy an organ postlude played by our visiting musician, Bowden Moore. Thank you again for joining us.